is that as data scientists, we are used to focusing on this model performance metrics, so accuracy, MSE, and all that. But really, what we should be focusing on is how well this model helps the user and supports their goals. And the second thing I want to point out is sometimes these two things might not be the same. So, high model metrics may not always transform to good user experience. And so, for example, just a quick example, you might have a model that has like 98% like accuracy when you are evaluating it in some offline setting. So you have some data, you've done it, it works really well. You put this thing into production. Let's say you're doing recommendations, and your recommendation metric, let's say things like purchases actually goes down. But when you train the model on some offline data, it looks like it works really well, but in practice, it doesn't improve like the user's end goals. So things like maybe better purchases or better conversion rates, that sort of thing. And there are many reasons for that. It might be that there's a difference between your test environment and your trained offline evaluation environment and your actual production environment, or there are some new interactions that are occurring in the production setting that you just can't model in your offline test setting. There are many reasons for that, but it's just a good idea to acknowledge that these two things can be different and be aware of that. And so the next thing is, if you have come up with some sort of user experience metric, let's say you want to reduce cognitive load, so you probably need some way to measure cognitive load, and after you build your model, you train it, you put it into production, you probably can use some methods from user experience research to measure cognitive load. So it might be things like after users interact with your tool, you give them some survey where they report, they have self-reported measures of effort to difficulty. Or you could have some logs where you keep track of things like the session length, task completion rate, essentially whatever you can get from things like Google Analytics, you can use that as a way to sort of measure how well changes to your model might be affecting all these other user experience focused metrics. And then you could also look at user engagement. There are many ways to sort of measure that. You could use things like observational studies where you get a group of people to use that thing, and you sort of look at what they're doing and ask them to sort of verbalize their actions. So it's called, you could think of this as a think aloud protocol. And it turns out that as you get them to use things and I'll say, why did you do this? Why did you do that? You might start to find like challenges that you didn't expect and things that you really, really need to fix that's like sort of impacting their ability to make progress.